want to recognize another very special individual because he traveled down today and he was one of Buck's guys. And Frank alluded to the fact, but we have former Negro Leaguer Jess Rogers who's with us as well, absolutely. They used to call him Mr. Long Ball, which he hit it a long ways back in his day. Played in the barnstorming circus with the Monarchs, played for Buck, and then organized baseball with both the Chicago Cubs and the New York Giants. So it's great to see him here as well. And certainly on behalf of our great mayor of Kansas City, Mayor Sly James, who sends his regards as well on this great occasion. I also want to recognize Josh Rowland, who is here representing his family, Mrs. Sarah and Landon Rowland, who is that anonymous donor for this other part of the resources that were needed to help create the bus that we're going to see. And I want to thank Josh and his family for their support. Landon is a board member of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum and was a dear friend of Buck O'Neil. I know Josh is in here somewhere representing Lead Bank and his family. So Josh, thank you guys so much for your support. He's in the rear of the room. And then last but not least, I want to thank the late, great Ted Double Duty Ratcliffe. Ted Double Duty Ratcliffe is the reason that Buck O'Neil made his way to Kansas City. Buck started his career in 1937 with the Memphis Red Sox. Ted Double Duty Ratcliffe, in a deal with J.L. Wilkinson, traded Buck to Kansas City. Goose Tatum, Hall of Fame basketball player, would take Buck's place in Memphis at first base, which sends Buck to Kansas City. And the rest is history. Buck O'Neil becomes beloved in the city of Kansas City as a great member of the great Kansas City Monarchs and one of the finest human beings that ever walked the face of this earth. Undoubtedly. I tell people all the time that Buck had the same qualities of a Mother Teresa, a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a Gandhi. The only difference was he could hit the curveball. But those same kinds of human qualities that endeared us all, and Buck was a living demonstration of that. You can indeed get further in this life with love than you can with hate. He embodied that every day. He lived that every day. He was a demonstration for all the children who had an opportunity to meet him. And he just absolutely loved people. I was telling the speaker earlier, I think it's very fitting and almost poetic that on this day, February 27th, that Buck will be inducted as a famous Missourian, because it was 6 years ago today that we got the news that Buck missed by 1 vote getting in the Hall of Fame. How poetic is that? You know, and it was one of the worst days and one of the best days in my life. It was so bad for me because I had to deliver the news that he didn't get in the Hall of Fame. But what we all witnessed that day in Kansas City will stay with me for the rest of my life. Buck O'Neil took that news like a man. There's no question about it, because he was disappointed. But he walked into a room of about 300 people, and he delivered one of the most amazing speeches, concession speeches that I had ever heard. When the world was saying he had been mistreated, he stood there at that podium and said, "Don't be angry, don't be bitter, don't be upset with anyone that had anything to do with this decision. If I'm a Hall of Famer in your eyes, that's all that matters to me. Just keep on loving old Buck." And what he essentially did, guys, was he reached his arms out, wrapped them around all of us, and said, "It's okay." And then he would go on to the Hall of Fame and speak on behalf of 17 others who had no voice, in what I believe assuredly is the most selfless act in American sports history. And 2 months later, he would pass away at age 94. So today I stand here on behalf of Buck and his family, and on behalf of the 2,600 men and women who played in what is known as the Negro Leagues, because Buck O'Neil didn't have a self-serving bone in his body. This honor is not only on behalf of Buck, but is on behalf of every one of them who played in these great leagues known as the Negro Leagues. So again, on behalf of the entire staff of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, and in memory of my dear friend, the late, great John Buckle Neal. I want to thank the speaker again and all of you for making this day possible and for giving Buck his rightful place right here in the Show Me State that he called home for so many years and that he loved so dearly. Thank you so much.